Yeah, you may think, why is that weird guy who ran around and disturbed people so much suddenly up there and try to speak to us? But I'm actually the regional coordinator of Asia Pacific region, and also who are in charge so many parts of this World Congress. So today I'd like to talk about the tools we invented for the last 3 years while we were doing regional conferences of Asia Pacific region. So, well, the conventional idea of, especially in Asia Pacific region, conventional idea about heritage management is leave it to the experts. Why do you want to involve communities? It's painful job for the site managers to talk to these people, and it's still a very, very difficult job. I'm also working for the municipal government of Gyeongju, and nobody would like to involve communities because they are rude, they are selfish, they want something we can't give. That's true. That's something. Yeah, I'm just going to stop. I don't want, I don't want to bother everyone a piece. But something has changed these days, and people have realized monument and things are not only the World Heritage is not just monument and old buildings. It's memories and people's relations with those things. So we started thinking, what if we can make more meanings with the people who live around it, who actually work there? So there are a lot of charters and recommendations and declarations regarding community engagement, but I'm the least qualified person who can talk about that at this point. So I'm just going to skip all these things. Okay. And I'd like to briefly mention the SDGs. There is ICOMOS SDG focal point, Miss Elke Ildrim, and we have worked together about how to localize SDG. SDG is a very big, broad issue and broad missions that all mankind have. But how can we localize those things? How can we implement that missions and goals into the daily life and daily works of the site managers and things like that? And community and World Heritage Cities is one of the very important issues to have to solve that problem. Cities are well placed to raise awareness and involve related partners and identify needs of citizens and mobilize local resources. So these are why World Heritage Cities are so important in order to achieve SDGs. Am I speaking too fast? Okay, no. So before we started trying to do something about communities, it was 2014, the first regional conference of Asia Pacific region, and the reason why we chose community engagement for that workshop was there was this 40th celebratory celebration of World Heritage Convention, and one of the huge topic was people-centered conservation. So we tried to invite the experts in Asia Pacific region, including him and her and other people. And so what we did was we had a workshop and we collected case studies from Asia Pacific region, and I felt a certain kind of thirst because we were experts. All we had was experts in academias and site managers and people. There was no people involved, and we just shared our ideas and things like that. So I thought it could be a good idea to have some useful tool to implement these beautiful minds' opinions. So So we gathered again in 2016 in Gyeongju here, and she was there. Manon was there. Manon, my colleague, was there, and a lot of people from worldwide came, and we built up a useful tools that can apply to daily life of our site managers. Do you guys have this, what is it, extra paper with you? Yep. Yep. This is what we invented last year, and we invented 4 tools for the site managers because it is mainly for identify where they are and how they can, how can I say, how they can apply like where they are in terms of community engagement. If you look at the first page, we wrote all the principles that we divided the level of communication, levels of community engagement into 4 parts, including identification, context, and building confidence and consensus, and implement and monitoring. So each phase, it's kind of a communicational level, and how can I say? Like if you implement one community engagement project, you have these steps. You have to identify what they want, who they are, the communities, who they are, and what their interests are, some kind of like that. And the context, you have to invite them to the place where you want to engage. So that's kind of like making a comfortable context for the people who are going to come. And the third is if you implement community engagement, it always causes conflicts. We want to preserve this building. Some people might think it is better to demolish it and build a public house on the site. So how to resolve the conflicts and conclude consensus, and there are always implement and monitoring period because when we try to implement something, we always have to think about the sudden issues comes up. So you can't expect every single thing, but you have to be prepared for some problems and issues. So the second page is we divide all these different levels of community engagement from outreaching to shared leadership. And what we try to achieve is involvement and collaboration period. If you look at the spectrum, there is a colored columns, and these are the levels that we would like to achieve. And we divided these, and we named different kind of phenomena that happens during these different levels of approach. For example, in the involvement period and level, the information is local authorities and communities share the information. We kind of like describe the things that happened during those level of community engagement. So the next one could be the community engagement matrix. Now you know, if you have used this tool, you know where you are in terms of community engagement. And so we divided the levels of community engagement, and also we divided the phases of community involvement projects. So you can see where you are right now in terms of community engagement and how you are doing. So we invented these tools last year, and we have to have trials. So fortunately, this year we are having third workshop about community engagement with a lot of experts from around the world. And one of the speakers, my friend Ege Ildrin, actually applied this tool to her hometown, Mudurnu. And first, in terms of identification, she gave 1.8 average, and in terms of setting the stage, which is context level, she gave 2.14, and also she divided it a bit more specifically and detailedly, but overall, she, how can I say? My English is going away. Yeah. Richard, help me. She gave a final scorecard with the about community engagement of Mudurnu heritage sites in Turkey, I would say. Yes. So the thing is, we can't involve community like at certain point. We have to try from the it's a baby. It's like a baby step. We make these tools and we make effort, and gradually people come to us and talk to us. I think that's the way we can do. And the thing is, even though we invent amazing tool, like as Matthias said, it is nothing if we cannot actually have people who implement it. So what I would like to say is, what I want to say is we have one more day of workshop this time, and what we are going to talk about is the real and the ideal. So we made this tool, and we want to assure that it's going to be used in the field of heritage management with everyday life of the heritage managers and site managers. So that's what I want at this point. And now I'm standing here and I've already have 20 messages from my boss, so I think I have to go for that. Sorry about that. And I would like to welcome all of you, because I think I don't have any time to welcome properly all of you to the World Congress of, thank you very much for coming, and thank you very much for listening.
Well, before Jahyun deals with the 20 messages from his colleagues, could I thank him? Could I just perhaps begin by asking a quick question? If delegates wish to have access to the community engagement principles as a working draft, how do they do that, please?
Well, they can just send me an email and I can send it to you. And we are going to also talk about how we can promote these ideas and tools as well tomorrow with other experts. So, yeah.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions? Edgar, I'm looking around to see if there's anyone else, but there is only you.
Apologies for stealing the time so much, but I just want to help Jahyun because of the tables he showed. I think he needed to delete the legends for some reasons. Without them, those numbers don't mean much. It's 1, 2, 3. The spectrum of the scores was 1 was a beginner level, 3 was advanced good level, and so I don't know if you need to see the numbers again. It's just an actually kind of a very preliminary rough exercise. It was more about the experience of trying rather than any robust results, I have to say. And the LWs was experts, leaders, politicians, and the wider community. And while I was doing that exercise, I dared to actually distinguish between what the experts set out wishing or resolved to do, and then what actually politically gets done. There are things along the way, political factors, which sometimes make it very difficult to do the same community involvement you were wishing to do at the beginning. And then the wider community, I gave them some responsibility and scoring, because sometimes we talk about the wider community. You mentioned it a little bit there, sometimes a pain, you said. I mean, we may put them in a very angelic position, whereas they have responsibilities too. You know, it's a two-way process. I just want to share my experience. Thank you.
Thank you. I think rather than re-put up the scores, the point to make is that these the matrix examines attributes of community engagement and provides a way to rank them or consider how you're doing. Whether you use numbers or X's in the boxes probably is immaterial. But this is a work in progress. Are there any other questions? Yes, there's one over here. And then, did I see one in the middle? Yeah, okay. Can we just wait till your microphone's on, please, Arlene?
I'm very fortunate to have been involved with this cycle from the second cycle onwards in developing these guidelines. And I think Jahyun deserves a very big congratulations on achieving what you have achieved and pulling everyone together and pushing this forward. And I think I want to also contrast what you're doing with what Matthias does. You know, Europe has always been at the leader, traditionally, if you like, since the World Heritage Convention and showing the road. And I think it's really good that things are coming out of other regions now, different approaches, different cultural contexts. I mean, I think that's also been the joy of working together with a mix of people from all around the world, and of course all you municipalities who also represent very different cultural contexts. What works in one culture that can be outspoken, that has a vote against the mayor, from another culture where the leadership is appointed from the center, or there's traditional ways of meeting or greeting, or tribal cultures where you follow your leader rather than are outspoken. So to introduce a toolkit that will break across some of these boundaries, but also comes from a different cultural context from this region, I think is really valuable, and I think we really need to embrace it and take it forward. And I think we've got 2 more days now to develop it, also with recommendations from the General Assembly, and bring it together. But thank you very much for what you've done to achieve this.
Yes, I think that's a point that's... Thank you, yes. A point that's very well made. In this session we have seen examples and tools from different cultural contexts, and it must be said that the Asia-Pacific set of tools is more emergent and aspirational and sits within a very different political context. There were a number of hands up. There was one in the middle that was next, I think. No? If you want to be heard, you will have to use... Oh, I see. Okay. Who wants to talk? We're good. Okay. We've got one down here.
Merci. Zoubair Mohdi de Tunis. C'est peut-être pas une question, mais je voulais insister sur les points que j'ai pu peut-être aujourd'hui capter cet après-midi avec ces 2 interventions surtout. Et donc, ce qui était important, je crois, c'est qu'on a insisté sur le fait que le patrimoine ou la tradition n'est pas d'adorer les cendres, mais de passer la connaissance, de communiquer les archives. Ça, c'était une question très importante qu'il fallait peut-être souligner et qui a peut-être aussi induit un conseil, je crois, qui a été donné aujourd'hui au patrimoine mondial, c'est d'essayer de ne pas être très théorique, mais de plutôt construire des cas qui réussissent. Alors il y avait l'histoire que le patrimoine est un système. Tout système, il a des liens, des relations entre ces différents éléments qui le composent, mais ça veut dire aussi qu'il n'y a pas la possibilité de la préméditation individuelle. On ne peut pas changer le système. Mais on peut peut-être le positiviser, c'est ça? Le mot n'est pas français, mais pour dire qu'on s'introduit dans le système pour essayer de positiviser certains aspects du système. Parce que ce n'est pas une idée un peu dangereuse sur laquelle on peut c'est-à-dire se baser pour... c'est vrai, c'est un système, moi je suis d'accord, hein, mais pour se baser pour un peu ne rien faire. Donc, je voulais poser la question, puisque les deux intervenants sont là, dans la méthode proposée pour le premier intervenant, est-ce que vous avez prévu aussi, dans l'étude que je n'ai pas encore lue, de convaincre que le patrimoine peut être aussi converti en patrimoine pécunier, qui peut ramener de l'argent. Surtout ça s'adresse aux responsables du patrimoine et aux ceux qui ont la gestion du patrimoine. Ensuite, pour la question de comment informer la société civile et comment informer les gens avec qui on va discuter, je crois que c'est très très important, puisque je crois dans beaucoup de villes, les mairies ou les responsables du patrimoine ou les gestionnaires du patrimoine ne veulent pas passer toute l'information. Il y a un problème de communication, peut-être exprès, parce qu'on croit que cette information pourrait être utilisée un jour contre eux. Mais dans certains pays, comme notre société par exemple, la société civile tunisienne qui s'est réveillée, comme toutes les autres sociétés civiles, comme elle a été dit, les réseaux sociaux constituent aujourd'hui un grand moyen de vigilance envers toutes les actions qui sont être faites ou commises contre le patrimoine. Donc ça, c'est un point très important parce que la société civile, quand elle est informée et éduquée, elle peut s'exprimer très bien dans les différents domaines et elle pourrait être d'une participation efficace. Merci.
Thank you for that intervention, and I think that underpins the point that Arlene was making about the different cultural contexts. We will just have one more intervention, please, because we are now into coffee time. That intervention is from Professor Gala up the back, and I know he will be brief.
Thank you, Chair, Moderator. And thanks to Jahyun, this is next generation leadership that he's pulling all of us together and drafting very open-ended principles. We're really grateful to you, your generation. This is the first time I've heard the kind of discussion that's taking place since the NARA 1994 conference, where we actually started open-ended dialogue. But what's important is you kept the principles very open-ended, and that I really appreciated. Having worked for 10 years in Vietnam, one of the things the Vietnamese did is they brought in to the World Heritage Sites gender and intersectionality, gender, class, a whole range of things, ethnicity. And I think that you're dealing with a region that has 60% of the world's population and tremendous cultural and linguistic diversity. And I just want to congratulate you to keeping the process open, because this would really help us to address cultural and linguistic diversity issues that I've been living in Denmark for 4.5 years. It's a huge struggle in Europe, sort of how do they deal with inclusion. So I just want to say congratulations, what a fantastic job you're doing, and especially your next generation. Thank you.
It's a point very well made. Thank you. Thanks.